Usually what happens is, in most of the cases, people don't pay much attention to the singly excited system, and those topics are actually neglected. But to be very honest, these are some of the very important systems, and they do exist in the real world, and their understanding is very important. And eventually our electrical machines, be it AC or DC machines, they are all electromechanical energy conversion systems or devices. So the study of this topic actually starts from this point. And if you have any queries, please do interrupt me during the webinar. I would be more than happy to discuss with you. Okay, so what we do is, now we go to our book, which is on principles of electrical machinery, and the topic of electromechanical energy conversion for singly excited system actually starts from chapter 3. So here we go to the chapter 3, and we will have a look at it, how actually we can analyze the kind of systems that we had seen in the previous animations. So the electromechanical energy conversion system, its simplest form, is the one where we can convert the energy from magnetic field to the mechanical, or mechanical motion into the magnetic field. So this is what we will be trying to figure out, and we will be trying to discuss in this webinar. So the basic premise of electromechanical energy conversion, or the analysis of electromechanical energy conversion, and I would like to emphasize that it's true for the systems that we have seen in this in the previous video animations, and it's true for the electrical machines as well. So all the analysis of such systems is usually done using the principle of conservation of energy, and the conservation of energy is given here in equation 3.1. So the conservation of energy says that whatever is the input electrical energy, that would be equal to the output mechanical energy plus the energy stored plus the energy dissipated as heat. So this is the fundamental energy balance that we have for any electromechanical energy conversion system. So it's true for AC motors, DC motors, AC generators, DC generators, and also for the simple single excited systems that we saw in the previous animation. And this, in this equation, the major kinds of stored energy are classified into two categories. So we have the magnetic field energy, okay, the energy stored in the magnetic field, and then we have the energy stored in the mechanical system. So the inertia of the mechanical system, whether it's a linear motion or a rotational motion, would have some inertia, and that inertia would store energy. Similarly, the magnetic energy is stored due to the inductance. As we saw in the animations, that there were ferromagnetic bars or arms, and a coil was wrapped around those ferromagnetic arms, and whenever the current went through the coil, we created a magnetic field, and due to the presence of the coil and the ferromagnetic arm, there was an inductance, and that inductance was responsible for storage of magnetic energy. So it's stored in form of magnetic field. So, and the losses that we have in the entire system are the ohmic losses, which are shown over here by W ohmic. Then we have the iron losses, which are represented by WFE, and then we have the mechanical losses, which are represented by W mechanical. So mechanical losses are due to the friction and air resistance and so on. So the simple equation of the energy balance that we had in equation 3.1 in the previous page can actually be expanded now, and it can be written in this elaborate fashion. So Win is the input electrical energy, W mechanical is the output mechanical energy, W field is the energy stored in form of magnetic field, and W mechanical stored is the energy stored in the mechanical system due to the inertia, and then W ohmic is the ohmic loss, WFE is the iron losses. These iron losses actually take place due to eddy currents and hysteresis in the ferromagnetic material, and then we have the W mechanical losses. So this is the expanded version of the previous equation 3.1, which we had in the previous page. So here I have displayed the equation 3.1 for you, so it's in the expanded form on your screen now. So this is equation 3.1, and we have the expansion of the equation 3.1 given by 3.2. Now, to make the analysis of the energy conversion system simpler, what we do is we actually, for the time being, we would not consider the losses taking place inside the ferromagnetic material. So the losses due to the hysteresis and due to the eddy current. So they are being neglected for the time being to keep this analysis simpler. And what we have done is actually the ohmic loss which takes place inside the current carrying coils is represented by a resistance as shown here in figure 3.2. So I would just expand the figure 3.2 for you to view it very carefully. So the entire electromechanical energy system is shown by this figure 3.2. So we have the electrical mains from where the electrical energy actually flows into the system, and then this resistance R represents the resistance of the coil through which the current flows. Then we have a lossless magnetic energy storage system. It's a lossless because we have neglected the eddy current and the hysteresis losses. And then we have the losses due to friction and windage. These are the mechanical losses. And then we have the mechanical system. Now if we look at this figure very carefully, till point 2 we have electrical energy, and at point 3 what we get out is the mechanical energy, and it's shown very clearly in this figure. So the input electrical energy is in form of EMF E and the flux linkage lambda and current I, whereas the output mechanical energy is in form of force and displacement x. So if we have a linear motion, we will have displacement x, and if we have a rotational motion, we would have angular displacement that can be represented by theta. So our entire study and today's webinar will focus on this lossless magnetic energy storage system, because this is the system which is responsible for conversion of electrical energy into mechanical energy. So for this lossless system, if we see the differential input electrical energy, okay, would be equal to the differential field energy plus differential mechanical energy. Now we are talking in terms of differential energy because we just want to study what happens if a small amount of energy, a very infinitesimally small amount of energy is injected into the system. So how much mechanical energy do we get and how much energy is stored? So that's why we are working in terms of differential input energy, differential field energy, and differential mechanical energy. So now to understand this principle in detail, we have a very simple system which is represented here in figure 3.3. So in this figure 3.3 we can see that we have a coil, and that coil is being fed by a DC source, and the DC source is connected to the coil via a variable resistor. We can call it as a rheostat. So what we do is we will be now examining what happens to the stored energy once we keep on changing the resistance. So if we look carefully, there is no moving part here, so this system has no motion. So it's an energy conversion system with no motion, so no mechanical output is produced here. So what we do is we fix a value of the rheostat and let the current flow through the coil. Then after some time, what we do is we suddenly decrease the resistance of the rheostat. So if we suddenly decrease the resistance of the rheostat, then the current through the coil should ideally rise suddenly. And let's see what happens. So what we see here is the scenario in this figure 3.4. So up to a certain time, let's say up to 1.5 seconds, the resistance was constant and a fixed magnitude of current 10 ampere was flowing through the coil. And then Once we suddenly decrease the resistance of the rheostat, the current would start to rise. But the rise of the current will not be sudden, it will rise in an exponential nature, and this is due to the inductance of the system. So the inductance of the system will not allow the current to rise immediately, rather it will rise in an exponential way, and this is what is shown over here. So after some time, once the current reaches a steady state, we have been in that position long enough, so we can see that after 2.5 seconds the current reaches its new value of 20 amperes. So it means that we had actually halved the resistance. So if the resistance was X ohms up to 1.5 seconds, so at 1.5 seconds we reduced the magnitude of the resistance to X by 2. So the current increased to 20 amperes. Now comes the very interesting part. And this is shown here in figure 3.5. So the till 1.5 seconds, the input electrical energy was equal to the energy that was being dissipated across the resistance. But as soon as we decrease the value of the resistance and make it half, if you see the red curve and the blue curve, then we would see that as soon as the resistance is halved, the ohmic loss drops, okay, and it keeps on increasing gradually. Whereas the input electrical power, which is shown by the blue curve, that keeps on rising in an exponential manner. So if we see here in this figure 3.5, when we have reduced the resistance, the input electrical power increases, okay, the ohmic loss also increases, but the ohmic loss is less than the input electrical power. So now comes the question, where has the remaining power gone? Because we saw from the energy balance that the input power should be equal to the output power, but we see that the output power that we have is the ohmic loss, and that is less than the input power for the duration when the current is rising. Once the current reaches its steady state value, again the ohmic loss becomes equal to the input electrical power. But in this transition phase, when the current is rising, input power is greater than the ohmic loss. And now this question, that where does the difference in the input power and the ohmic loss go? The answer to that is it is stored in the magnetic field, okay, because we have changed the resistance. As a result of that, we have changed the current, and the current is now not constant. So if the current is not constant, then the MMF produced by the coil is not constant, and since we don't have a constant MMF, we would be having a change in the flux, and this change in the flux is something which is responsible for change in the magnetic energy. So this can be understood very easily. Since we did not have any change in the magnetic configuration of the the geometric configuration, the geometric configuration of the ferromagnetic system, and also we didn't have any change in the number of turns in the coils and so on. So up to 1.5 second, the energy stored in the inductance of the system was half Li square. And once we reduce the resistance and the current becomes 20 amperes, say from 2.5 second onwards, the energy stored in the inductance of the system would be half L I2 square, where I2 is 20 amperes. So if you see that in the first initial state, which is from 0 to 1.5 seconds, the energy stored was half L I1 square. I1 was 10 amperes, and from 2.5 second onwards, the energy stored in the inductance is half L I2 square, where I2 is 20 amperes. So we see that there's a jump in the magnitude of the stored energy, and this increase in the stored energy is actually nothing but the difference between the input electrical power minus the ohmic loss. So whatever is the balance of the energy that we have, that is being stored inside the ferromagnetic core, which is wrapped by a coil, which we have seen here in the previous figure. So this is the reason why we have this kind of a nature. Now if we look at this analysis further, so here is the complete mathematical model. I think it's a very simple mathematical model. So we have the energy balance, and to get from, we utilize the energy balance and also the voltage equation. So V in is equal to drop across the resistance, the rheostat that we have, plus E. E is the back EMF. If the flux does not change, then the back EMF is 0. But if the flux changes, which we have the case when we were moving the resistance, when we were decreasing the resistance, so we have an induced EMF. So we can write down our complete voltage balance as shown in figure equation 3.7. And what I do is I multiply both the sides of the equation 3.7 by current. So I start to get my equation, the voltage equation, in terms of power. So equation 3.8 gives me the power equation for this system that we have. And similarly, I multiply both the left and the right hand side by dt to get the differential energy, and this is the equation 3.9, which is in terms of differential energy. And if I compare each and every term of equation 3.9, then I get that V in into I dt is my differential input electrical energy, and then I square R dt is my differential ohmic energy, and I d lambda is my differential field energy. Okay, so this is the field energy which is being stored inside the ferromagnetic material. So hence the energy balance, okay, can be written as dW in is equal to dW ohmic plus dW FLT. And if we consider a lossless system, that means if we subtract from W electrical input energy the ohmic losses, then we get purely the electrical power which goes inside the lossless system, which is shown here in equation 3.11. So whatever electrical energy, that is the energy or the power coming from the terminals minus the ohmic losses, so that's the net electrical energy dW elect, so that is equal to dW FLD. So whatever change in the electrical energy we had is actually the change in the field energy, and this is how we can represent our entire energy balance for this